It's not too early to forecast which big-name players could be on the move.
What happens with Tyreek Hill? Because I don't think he's going to be on that team come the trade deadline unless things turn around quickly.
How about we look at 10 notable NFL stars that are most likely to get traded during the 2025 season? Tyreek Hill. After the 2024 season, Hill kept stirring the pot with cryptic social media posts and comments to reporters that suggested that he wanted out of Miami. But after ending the childish meltdowns, Hill agreed to play nice and committed to the Dolphins for the 2025 season. But that was well before the Dolphins jumped out to a horrible 0-3 start, with Hill himself hardly making any impact whatsoever. Do you remember how verbally upset he was about missing the NFL postseason for the first time in his career in 2024? Yeah, I don't think he's sticking around on a dysfunctional team with a below-average quarterback that looks poised to finish with a top 5 pick. At this rate, we'd be shocked if Hill finished the 2025 season with the Dolphins. And you know, it just so happens that a handful of contenders desperately need wide receiver help, making Hill the perfect trade deadline target. A reunion with the Kansas City Chiefs makes perfect sense here. Miami may as well put him on the block now and trade Hill to the highest bidder ASAP. Hey, just saying, it would help their chances of tanking too. Kirk Cousins. There are conflicting reports about Kirk Cousins' availability on the trade block, but there is one thing that is for sure. He will never start for the Atlanta Falcons ever again. Normally, we wouldn't endorse the idea of a team taking on a 37-year-old backup quarterback with a $40 million cap hit for the season. But man, look at the onslaught of concerning quarterback injuries around the NFL already. Joe Burrow, Jane Daniels, Brock Purdy, J.J. McCarthy, Justin Fields. Now tell us how many of those teams have a better backup option than Cousins. We know Cousins had a disastrous second half in Atlanta last year, which led to his benching for the final 3 games. But remember, he was hardly a year removed from surgery on a season-ending Achilles tear. He's had nearly 2 full years to recover now. His body is well rested. 37 is not that old for a quarterback in today's NFL. And with teams like the Bengals and Vikings in win-now mode, it only makes sense to roll the dice on the 4-time Pro Bowler and just see if he can elevate their offense. Travis Etienne Jr. If the Jaguars stick around in the wide-open AFC South playoff race, then, you know, all bets are off. But we're skeptical that that'll be the case, making Etienne Jr. the top running back target at the 2025 NFL trade deadline. Etienne is in the final season of his rookie contract, and it's hard to imagine the Jaguars committing to him long-term when a quality running back is easy to find in this day and age. Plus, rookie Bayshul Tootin out of Virginia Tech looks like a capable RB1 replacement for Etienne. As a 2-time 1,000-yard rusher, Etienne would be an attractive trade target for several contenders. Heck, we'd be very enticed to see him in Kansas City's offense. Or what about the Vikings with Aaron Jones sidelined? Or the chance to be the RB1 in Pittsburgh? Or maybe the Dallas Cowboys would have some interest. If the Jaguars are out of playoff contention leading up to the trade deadline, then Etienne is a goner. Book it. Kayvon Thibodeaux. It's hard to remember now, but Thibodeaux was once viewed as an early frontrunner to go first overall in the 2022 NFL Draft. His career has been a mixed bag up to this point. 4 sacks in 2022, 11.5 in 2023, and just 5.5 in 2024. The New York Giants picked up the 5th-year option on Thibodeaux's rookie deal to keep him under contract through 2026. But with this season already going off the rails, it feels just like an opportune time for the Giants to trade Thibodeaux and maximize their return. The Giants also have 3 mega pass rushing studs in Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, and Dexter Lawrence. They don't exactly need Thibodeaux, making him the perfect offseason trade target. Romeo Doubs. The Green Bay Packers used a first-round pick on Texas wideout Matthew Golden and just extended Christian Watson. Rising star Jaden Reed obviously is not going anywhere. So that leaves Doubs as the odd man out. The Packers are also blessed with star running back Josh Jacobs and tight end Tucker Kraft, who's already enjoying a breakout season. Add it all up, and GM Brian Gutekunst says the easy decision to ship out Doubs and move forward with the star-studded core that he's assembled for Jordan Love. It was recently reported that the Packers actually held trade discussions regarding Doubs in the offseason, but no deal came to fruition. Considering that he's coming off a second straight season of 40-plus catches and over 600 yards, Doubs could be a serviceable number 2 or number 3 receiver for other teams looking to bolster their offense. Doubs would cost no more than a mid or late-round pick either. Unless he goes nuclear mode in the games leading up to the deadline, expect the Packers to give Doubs a fresh start in the final season of his contract year. Jaylen Phillips. The Dolphins have a golden opportunity here to really accelerate their their rebuild if they trade Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Phillips before the trade deadline. A pending free agent, Phillips looked like a budding star when he recorded 22 total sacks over his first 3 seasons. Unfortunately, season-ending injuries in 2023 and 2024 limited Phillips to just 12 total games, stalling his chances of making that jump to superstar. With a scorched earth rebuild coming, it doesn't really make sense for Miami to extend Phillips long-term because, well, his injury history. Honestly, they could probably get something like a second or third round pick in return for Phillips. David Njoku. The Cleveland Browns have several intriguing trade assets, including quarterback Joe Flacco, running back Jerome Ford, and cornerback Greg Newsome. But none of their potential trade candidates are bigger than standout tight end David Njoku, who's also in a contract year. The one-time Pro Bowler has spent his entire career with the Browns, putting up quality numbers without the luxury of elite quarterback play. And considering there are only so many productive tight ends in the NFL right now, Njoku should attract plenty of interest if he hits the trade block. Njoku had a career year in 2023, catching 81 passes for 882 yards and 6 touchdowns, even though the Browns used 5 different starting quarterbacks. Stuck with more terrible QB play in 2024, Njoku still tallied 64 receptions for 505 yards and 5 touchdowns despite missing 6 games. So yeah, the production is still certainly there, even if the quarterback play behind him isn't. Looking at playoff contenders with a need for tight end help, well, we got the Denver Broncos, Seattle Seahawks, Los Angeles Rams, Washington Commanders, and Los Angeles Chargers. And those are just the guys that immediately stand out as potential landing spots. Jakobi Meyers. The veteran wideout requested a trade from the Las Vegas Raiders before the start of the season. The Silver and Black then brought back old friend Amari Cooper in free agency, seemingly indicating that they would honor Meyers' trade request. But then Cooper unexpectedly retired before the start of the season. Coming off of his first 1,000-yard season, Meyers decided to report for Week 1 instead of holding out for a contract extension or possible trade. The Raiders are trying to win now after hiring Pete Carroll and bringing in Geno Smith and Ashton Jeanty. But it's gonna be hard to stay in the race when your division features 3 bona fide Super Bowl contenders. So, well, don't be surprised if the Raiders end up selling at the deadline. Meyers has been a model of consistency since his 2020 sophomore season, with 5 straight 50-catch and 700-yard seasons under his belt. Having exceeded 800 yards in 4 straight campaigns on mediocre football teams, I think it's obvious that Meyers can be a quality number 2 receiver for a real Super Bowl contender. With Meyers in his contract year, the Raiders ought to just trade the man instead of losing him for absolutely nothing if they're out of the postseason race. Breece Hall. The New York Jets' massive offseason overhaul has not yielded new results. It's still the same old Jets, just with a different head coach, GM regime, and starting quarterback. New Jets head coach Aaron Glenn wanted to establish a rush-heavy offense with quarterback Justin Fields and pending free agent Breece Hall. The latter, however, has not quite hit superstar territory, but he has posted over 1,300 yards of offense in consecutive seasons, and he's doing that on a horrible Jets team behind a terrible offensive line. Now, you put Hall on a team with Super Bowl aspirations, and, well, you might see a spike in production. Hall isn't just explosive as a runner, he's also dynamic in the passing game as well, recording nearly 1,300 receiving yards over his first 3 seasons. This man can totally reach All-Pro status on a team with a legitimate starting quarterback. Hard to imagine the rebuilding Jets throwing money at Hall when other teams will be happy to offer him lucrative multi-year deals in free agency. Barring a strong turnaround in October, it would really be a stunner if the Jets kept Hall beyond the trade deadline. Trey Hendrickson. After holding out with the hope of landing a long-term extension, Hendrickson received a pay raise and agreed to play out the final year of his contract. But with Joe Burrow suffering a brutal turf toe injury that'll sideline him for the next 3 months, it already feels like the Bengals will have to be trade deadline sellers. For whatever reason, owner Mike Brown refused to pay Hendrickson when the Bengals held the status as a Super Bowl contender. With the Burrowless Bengals sure to miss the playoffs, there is just no way that Brown will change his mind and meet Hendrickson's lucrative asking price now. So even though he really hasn't done much right as a hands-on owner, Brown has the easy choice to move Hendrickson at the deadline. The reigning sacks leader has been one of the NFL's elite difference-making defensive players since his 2020 breakout year, and this is not a player that you can lose for nothing in free agency. Unless Hendrickson agrees to an extension with his new team, the Bengals won't get a first-round pick for his services. However, teams should be willing to pay a second-round pick and, heck, potentially potentially even more to get Hendrickson, who can single-handedly take over a game at any given moment. If the Bengals put Hendrickson on the block, you can bet that more than a dozen teams will have serious interest. That means a nice juicy bidding war for the four-time Pro Bowler, who awaits a giant payday in 2026 free agency. But hey, which other big-named NFL player do you think will get traded this season? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, then hey, clicking the like button helps us out a ton. And you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.